the number one thing that's really changed our perspective on thumbnails is this new YouTube feature called...
When you guys think about long form versus short form, how do you guys balance the two?
One kind of strategy that's worked really well for us is we tend to find the most success with creators or celebrities we've made tons of mistakes, are actively making mistakes, which I see as a good thing because we want to be the kinds of people who are just constantly trying to innovate and try new things. YouTube can be really exciting and really fun, but it can also be just extremely frustrating.
A video drops, you guys are looking at it the first couple hours, the first day. What are those analytics that you're looking at right away?
Honestly, the number one thing I look at is just...
What stat do you think YouTubers don't pay enough attention to outside of views?
That's a great question. I would probably say that...
Hey everyone, welcome to the Creator Ops Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Schreiber. The goal of this podcast is to educate you on becoming a great operator in the creator economy. On today's episode, I talk with Zach Blank, who runs the day-to-day operations for Nick DiGiovanni, who is a chef and YouTuber with over 23 million subscribers. During our conversation, we talked through a ton, including the thumbnail strategy that helped Nick grow from 2 to now 23 million subscribers, the importance of collabs when growing your audience on YouTube, the key metrics Zach tracks on every YouTube video, how he approaches short form versus long form content, the best way to dub videos in any language, why Zach has almost completely eliminated brand deals from all long-form videos, and lastly, how he approaches team structure and size. And now, without further delay, here's my conversation with Zach Blank. You mentioned in the pre-interview that you're a thumbnail nerd. What have been the biggest changes in Nick's thumbnail strategy as he's grown from 2 to now 21 million subs?
Yeah, totally. So I'd say that the number one thing that's really changed our perspective on thumbnails is this new YouTube feature called A/B testing with thumbnails. What that basically allows us to do is before this feature rolled out, we could only upload one thumbnail at a time. That thumbnail was pushed to everybody on YouTube that only saw this thumbnail. So we could have a sense of how well it was performing, but it wasn't relative to anything. Like if there was a better thumbnail out there, we wouldn't necessarily know that information. With this new tool, they've allowed us to upload 3 thumbnails at a time. So now, basically, they're A/B/C testing all 3 of these thumbnails against each other to find which one our audience likes the most. And then once YouTube runs their test, they put your best thumbnail live, basically. And this has really kind of changed our perspective on thumbnails. Whereas before, we would have made 1 or 2 thumbnails per video and just kind of called it a day because that's really all we could do. Really just have a main one and kind of one as a backup in case it doesn't go well. Now we make sometimes up to 10 or 15 thumbnails per video where we're making tons of thumbnails. We're constantly A/B testing, not only once, but sometimes like even 5 or 10 times based on the different permutations of all of our thumbnails. And that way we're really able to kind of deliver the best possible thumbnail to our audience.
And when you are doing those A/B tests, how long do those go for? Because obviously the video goes live, you're doing an A/B test there, but then you can do more.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on YouTube. They have their own model for how they run their A/B tests. Like you just kind of press go and then YouTube runs it itself. Usually what happens is that for a newer video, the A/B testing happens pretty quickly because you're getting tons of data because YouTube is constantly pushing out that video when it's newer. For an older video, when maybe it's posted years ago and we're trying to update thumbnails, because that video isn't pushed as much naturally since it's so old, the thumbnail tests take a little bit longer because they're trying to get enough data. So it's really whenever YouTube gets a critical mass of people that go through the A/B test, then they're able to make their decision on what thumbnail is best.
And do you guys solely rely on the data that YouTube gives you, or do you have kind of your own, hey, we like to see this mark before we pick one or the other?
Yeah, we almost always just rely on what YouTube tells us. Some people have some issues with YouTube's A/B test. Right now it runs on average view duration is the metric that they optimize for. People have different ideas about that, and it's honestly actually a bit of a controversy in the YouTube space as to whether that's the best metric. Some people think it should be clicks. Some people think it should be total watch minutes or something like that. We're under the impression that YouTube has our backs. They want to make people watch our videos as long as we do. Like their goal is to keep people on their platform and engaged and hooked for the longest amount of time. So whether it's good or not, we kind of just trust YouTube that they're looking out for us and have our interests aligned.
As you guys have continued to build the channel, how has the overall packaging of the videos changed? You've got thumbnail, you've got intro, you've got caption. How has that evolved and just been tweaked?
I'd say our goal, just video to video, is to make every video a little bit better than the last one. Of course, the more videos we post, the more data we have from our audience about what they like, what they don't like, what works well, what doesn't work well. So based on the data and kind of our evolving creative brains, let's call it, we try to just kind of make every video a little bit better. So in theory, our thumbnail should be a little bit better every time. Our titles should be a little bit more accurate and apt to the content. And intros are definitely a big thing that we also do try to kind of improve every video.
When you guys are making those thumbnails, as far as just like the team structure, do you guys have a dedicated person who just is all their job is thumbnails, or how do you execute that?
Yeah, so we actually have a team of a couple people now who just work on thumbnails for us. Pretty much 24/7, they're just making thumbnails for Nick's channel. And yeah, it's based on the size of our channel and the reach of our videos and the impact a single thumbnail can make. It's become really advantageous to us to really build out our team. And in fact, I'd love to build out our thumbnail team even more so than what we have right now.
Let's jump back for a second and talk about some of those aha moments that you and Nick have had as the channel has really exploded. Is there a particular video or particular guest, a particular moment that it really, you guys saw a ton of new subscribers? What was that kind of aha moment that you realized that you guys had something here?
I would say for me, one of the biggest standout moments was this video we posted where Nick cooked for the world's heaviest sumo wrestler. That was about, let's say, a little over 2 years ago from right now. And that was really the first video that to date is our best performing video of all time on YouTube. And at that time, we were kind of in this transition period between kind of recipe based content and stuff that was simpler, either Nick just making recipes or tasting fast food or, kind of more simple topics. That was kind of our first foray into these like more crazy entertainment based topics. And based on the success of that, we really kind of changed our whole mindset on what our point of view is in the food space. And we really started to realize that we wanted our channel to be this hub for kind of food entertainment, we call it, which is now things like cooking for sumo wrestlers and traveling around the world to find the world's best burger and making Guinness World Records and stuff like that. So it was kind of the sumo video that really set us off on that further path of knowing that was the content that our audience was looking for.
Partnerships and collabs with other big YouTubers. I feel like that has been a really big moment for you guys. You guys have worked with Ryan, you've worked with Uncle Roger. So many different people have been on the show cooking with Nick. Who was that first guest? Because I'd imagine that those people, they've all got massive platforms as well, right? They're promoting the video too. What was that first guest like to really kind of take it to the next level?
Yeah, for sure. So even before I started working with Nick, and I've been working with Nick now for about 4 years or so. Nick was kind of doing social media for about a year or so before I even started working with him. Really from the start, Nick had developed a few friends just from being online, a few food creators, random artists and musicians and whatnot. And some of his earliest videos actually that are still on our Instagram page are really early collabs with other creators. I would say that was kind of the impetus of it, was really just right when Nick started. We realized that Nick, I think, just realized it was fun to do collabs. And we also realized that we were getting some exposure from these new audiences. And then over time, we kind of leaned into it more and more. I remember kind of the first bigger celebrity collab we did was Joe Jonas and the Jonas Brothers. And then from there, every collab almost snowballed into like a bigger collab and a bigger opportunity once bigger and bigger celebrities saw kind of the platform we had and the other people who came on the show before them. And then since then, we've gotten to collab with Tom Brady and Matthew McConaughey and Gordon Ramsay. Actually, last night we just collabed with Jimmy Fallon. Earlier this week, we collabed with Logan Paul. We've collabed with Mr. Beast, Uncle Roger, Mark Rober, Ryan Trahan. So at this point, we've been really fortunate to kind of collab with both some of the biggest and highest tier of celebrities and highest tier of YouTubers as well.
And how did those partnerships and collabs go? Is it you reaching out? Is it Nick reaching out? Are they just text back and forth, hey, let's do this video? Or is there more structure to it?
Yeah, it kind of depends, but I'd say for 95% of our collabs, it's been me doing the outreach to these people's teams. One kind of strategy that's worked really well for us is for a lot of the people we've worked with, we tend to find the most success with creators or celebrities who have some kind of food brand of their own. For example, like Mr. Beast has Feastables. Matthew McConaughey has a tequila brand. Tom Brady used to have, and then it got changed, but he used to have the TB12 protein powder type of stuff. Those are often really great ways to make an introduction with people because they can just immediately see the value that we're bringing to these people. So to someone like Tom Brady, who's a huge celebrity, incredibly famous, everyone knows his name. There's actually a lot of value for him to come on Nick's channel and for us to make a video promoting his TB12 stuff because we have this very curated food and beverage audience that he doesn't necessarily have. So one thing we've always done with our collabs is we've never paid a cent for any collab we've done. They're always free of charge. We won't we don't get paid. They don't get paid. It's just we want it to be pro bono on both sides. And we really see it as kind of a mutual benefit type of system where we get the mutual benefit of working with these huge names, and then they get the benefit of getting to expose their products in some cases, or even just themselves and their likeness to our audience.
How did the Gordon Ramsay relationship come to be? Will you give some context on that? Because I know Nick has a good relationship with him. He was on a show with Gordon Ramsay, but will you just explain that? Because I would love to talk about catching Gordon Ramsay, that kind of challenge to beat him in subscribers.
Yeah, for sure. So Nick's relationship with Gordon started when he did MasterChef, as you said. Nick did the show MasterChef season 11 when he was a senior in college. So he was at Harvard at the time, left Harvard for about 3 months, didn't even really tell his professors because he wasn't allowed to tell them based on all the NDAs. Basically had to get up and leave and then film the show for a few months. On the show, he was lucky to be a finalist. He was lucky to go far. And yeah, he got to develop this relationship with Gordon where I think at the time, Nick was the youngest, one of the youngest people to ever compete on MasterChef. And he really, if you rewatch the show, Nick really had this like curiosity and passion for food at a young age that I think was just impressive to not only the audience, but also the team behind MasterChef like Gordon. So Gordon and Nick kind of developed a little relationship through MasterChef. And then as Nick grew from the show to really develop his own brand that is now totally stands on its own 2 feet separate from the show. Gordon's been very supportive of that and has really kind of supported Nick and our team. And we've gotten to break a Guinness World Record with Gordon last year. And recently we just passed him in subscribers, which was kind of our big campaign for a while that we wanted to beat. We told people to subscribe to catch Gordon Ramsay. And we just completed that, which is really awesome.
When you look back on the last couple of years, Zach, is there a few mistakes that maybe stand out that you guys have made that it's just some key learning lessons as you've gotten to 21 million?
Yeah, of course. I would say that we've made tons of mistakes, are actively making mistakes, which I see as a good thing because we want to be the kinds of people who are just constantly trying to innovate and try new things. And inevitably some things are going to go great and some things won't go great. So we're really passionate about just trying to always be innovative. I'd say a few key learnings are one for me that sticks out is definitely about how to grow a team and how to build a really great team around Nick or around talent. It's really important for us that our team is very invested, very nimble and flexible. It's a space that is just constantly moving, changing by the day. Projects and videos can change course in the span of a day based on new trends or whatever comes out. So I'd say we constantly look to find just a really flexible, adaptive team, and that's been a big learning. Another thing too, I'd say is just kind of when it comes to YouTube, we've made tons of videos that haven't done well, and we just made one. In fact, a couple weeks ago, we posted this video where Nick raised a chicken that was ranked pretty low relative to our other videos recently, and yeah, I mean that. We have a number of reasons why that one didn't perform so well in hindsight, now looking at the data. But yeah, we're excited to always try new things and just make some swings and misses sometimes.
What's for you guys the number where you say, man, nobody watched that? What's that number? Because it kind of changes where right at the start, you're like 100,000 people. Oh, nobody watched that. Now for you guys, it's like 500,000 people, 1 million people watched it. Nobody watched it. What's that number right now?
It's kind of a silly answer that I'd say definitely kind of changes based on who the creator is and the scale of your channel. For us now, if we get under 1 million views within a week of posting a video, that for us is a very low number compared to how a great video performs for us. Of course, you were kind of laughing because it sounds insane that like 1 million views is small, but that's the reality. And
Totally.
If you ask Mr. Beast, he would tell you that like 100 million views in a month is small. Like every creator just kind of has a different bar. And for us, ours is, I'd say, about 1 million views in a week is just a good threshold.
I mean, it grows. I mean, we've heard obviously a lot of interviews with Mr. Beast talking about that number of yeah, 30 million, 40 million is not enough. Nobody watched it, but it is. I'm always just curious on how people view that. As you guys went from 2 to 20, going from 2 to 10, I think is obviously more challenging than going from 10 to 20. What were those kind of key moments as you're going and just trying to get to that 10 million mark?
Yeah, I would say that the 10 million mark is probably the biggest milestone looking back that I feel like we've reached. As you said, to go from 2 to 10 is very hard. It takes I think even a 10 million subscriber channel is, the numbers are out there, but it's something like 0.00001%. Like that's the top percentile that a 10 million subscriber channel is. It's something like that. I know for a fact that there's over 100 million YouTube channels out there. And I think there's something like 10,000, 5 to 10,000 at most that have 10 mil. So it's whatever that math is. There's just very few
Yeah,
channels
it's
that have
crazy.
10 million subscribers. And yeah, it's tough. I mean, YouTube can be really exciting and really fun as a field and as a space to work in, but it can also be just extremely frustrating. It's really a field where you have to be working constantly, like 24/7. You're always either thinking of ideas or researching, watching videos, like you're either kind of ideating or looking at competitors or whatever. Like you kind of always have to be on your toes. So I would say the road to 10 mil was just, our 10,000 hours for sure was hit by 10 mil. Like you have to put in just hours and hours to understanding your audience, understanding how the platform works. And I would say it's also kind of, as we just talked about with failures, it's in the YouTube world, you just can't ever get too discouraged by a quote unquote failure, because you just got to post your next video. And if you want to have 10 million subscribers, you just have to be really resilient and keep posting videos, because if you really believe in yourself and your creative vision, then you know that you're going to post tons of great videos over the course of your career.
If someone was stuck at that 3-4 million mark and they're trying to climb their way to 10, what do you say is maybe when you look at a channel, what mistakes do you think they're making, or just not thinking about? Because you guys talk about your 10,000 hours and putting in that work, but when you double click on that, is that, hey, this format is crushing, let's double down on that? Is it, hey, we just need to try more types of videos to figure out what our audience is really digging? What does that 10,000 hours truly look like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's I've talked to so many creators who, like me, can bond over the fact that we've spent numerous nights up until 3 a.m. just scrolling YouTube, and it's not like mindless scrolling. It's kind of like truly just working. Like you're like analyzing titles, analyzing thumbnails, looking at different videos, watching people's hooks and their intros and whatnot. It's just like a constant pursuit of new information and knowledge about the YouTube space. That's really important. And that's something that I don't think you can fake or use ChatGPT to get past, or use a LinkedIn post to get past, because a lot of people on LinkedIn or Twitter seem to know how to get 10 million subscribers on YouTube. But yeah, it's just, you need to put in that time and you need to really commit to making great videos. And yeah, that's something that you learn only by posting tons of videos and doing tons of research, is how I'd say.
When you guys think about long form versus short form, obviously shorts on YouTube are new in the last few years, but how do you guys balance the two? How do you think about the two?
Yeah, I would say that we actually have an approach that's probably more balanced than most YouTubers, which is that we see long form as kind of our bell cow of our channel. Like that's the most premium content. That's the biggest revenue driver, because there's more ads in a long form video than a short form video. And yeah, that's kind of where we're putting our most energy, because we find Nick and I just kind of enjoy the creative problem and exercise that a long form video is. Short form definitely has its own really exciting, creative, and unique challenges. But I would say to us, short form is more about discovery and people kind of learning about our channel and seeing Nick's brand, getting hooked through like a 30-second video. And then long form is really like where they come and grow to love Nick, because they're seeing him in these longer formats. They're getting to know his personality more, which are just things that are tough to come across in a short form video.
How do you guys try and link people from shorts and get them onto those longer videos? Are you making shorts that are kind of promoting maybe a long form video? You're linking to the actual short or the actual long form video in the short. How do you go about that? Because that transition can be difficult, getting an audience who loves shorts to go watch a 10-minute video.
So I would say the answer to your first question, do we often make videos that are kind of just like a lot of people make them like trailers of longer videos. They'll do that as their shorts. We don't do that and really have never done that. It often feels, I think, forced when you see a long form video that's cut down to a short form video. I think people can tell that this is like you're taking a totally different format, something that's entirely different, and you're just like putting a square peg into a round hook. Like you're trying to take something that's one thing and turn it into another thing. And to us, that's really not the point of short form. Like we want our short form content to really stand on its own 2 feet and be this ultra premium content in itself. And to us, that's how we're going to get the most viewers and convert the most viewers. Is just not if they're watching like the same videos as their long form, but just if they're watching the best possible videos, because then they're going to become kind of part of the Nick brand and part of the Nick universe. We just focus on making the best possible shorts. And yeah, sometimes those topics can be similar to our long form videos. And in that case, we do link them with that new linking feature YouTube has. We link them to the long form videos. But yeah, we kind of keep it as its own style and try to keep them slightly different, because we also do have sometimes a different audience of people who love our shorts versus the people who love our long form. And sometimes there isn't necessarily that crossover, depending on the kind of person it is.
Have you seen the click rate increase as you link those shorts to the long form videos? Have you seen success there? Or is it a little
Yeah, for sure. No, we've for sure seen success. I mean, I can't say that it's been in massive success. Like we have, I think, to date generated tens of millions of views just from those links alone, which is an amazing number. Like that's something that I'd rather have 10 million views than 0 views by just having that tool. It's not to say that like everyone who watches our short clicks into our long form. Like it's just not that case. It's only probably in the 1 to 5% range of people who click through. But over time, that becomes a very meaningful amount, and that can translate to very meaningful revenue for any channel just to have those extra views.
Let's talk about analytics for a second. A video drops, you guys are looking at it the first couple hours, the first day, 48 hours. What are those analytics that you're looking at right away? What are key indicators that you're looking for success-wise?
For sure. So for me, honestly, the number one thing I look at is just views. I know that different people and different YouTube strategists might have different perspectives on that. But to me, views is kind of just the capture all metric, where if a video has a lot of views, I know that YouTube's promoting it a lot, which means that people are watching it through pretty highly. So YouTube is promoting it more, and then more people are clicking on it. If it has a lot of views, it means the thumbnail is probably good. It's so many things. And then from there, of course, you can look into all the specifics and all the nuances. YouTube has more data than any one person can possibly parse through. So it's like it has everything. But for me, when I just want to see one number, I'm only looking at views, and I'm always checking the views relative to other videos in our channel. I don't know if you're familiar or if the listeners are familiar, but YouTube has that. Every creator knows it as just like the out of 10 metric, where YouTube will rank your video based on the past 10 videos. And also that combined with the views is kind of our go-to thing to look at.
What stat do you think YouTubers don't pay enough attention to outside of views?
That's a great question. I would probably say that YouTubers might, especially younger, less experienced YouTubers, might not pay attention to where their views are coming from. And that actually can be a very important metric, because one, it just helps you understand your audience. For example, if 50% of your audience is from Asia or wherever, it can be from anywhere, then, you might want to tailor your content to kind of fit that specific audience. And the other thing too is that a major part of our channel has become dubbing and syndicating our content throughout the world. So based on our viewership numbers, we've gotten a sense of kind of where our top markets for different languages are. And from there, we've made really key operational decisions about what markets to dub in based on our top demographics. So I would say, demographics and geography is super important. And not only important for making videos, but also important for brand deals. Brands will probably often come to you and ask you where your viewers are based, because they want to know where an ad is being delivered to. You might get totally different brand deals or different sized offers if you have a certain kind of audience.
How have you guys kind of solved that dubbing problem? It's not a problem, but just like it's a really big opportunity. Do you guys use a certain tool? Do you use how do you kind of execute that? Because that is really big. And are you dubbing for 2 or 3 other countries right now, or 2 or 3 other languages? Or are you dubbing for 10 languages?
Yeah, so we work with a company called Human Voiceover, which has been a fantastic partner for us over the last year or two. What we like about them is they do human voice actor dubbing. So there are real people in voice acting recording studios around the world that are recording our videos. It's not AI, which we've tried before, and just the technology wasn't quite there yet for making audio tracks that people actually liked. So yeah, we use this human voice dubbing, and that's allowed us to really kind of create the highest quality of a dubbing product, is to use these human voice actors that work in legit recording studios with huge microphones and whatnot. And to answer your question about the reach of our dubbing, so we've kind of incrementally rolled dubbing out. We Until a few months ago, we're dubbing in 5 languages across our channel. And within the next month or two, we're about to roll out 10 languages for every video across our channel. And to us, that's just going to really allow us to open up and reach so many more people that we could never reach before. A stat that Mr. Beast kind of popularized that we really took note of, I'd say a year or two ago, is that, you'll have to double check me, but I'm pretty sure the stat is that only 18% of the world actually speaks English, which means that over 80% of the world can't even understand your videos if they wanted to. So to have this dubbing and to be able to reach more people is just massive. It's like unlocking sides of the world that could never watch our videos before.
And for the actual dubbing, are you guys creating a new channel for each language in itself? How are you executing that, or is it just living on the same channel?
Yeah, so that used to be what YouTubers would do. Like Mr. Beast had Mr. Beast en Espanol, Mr. Beast France, all that kind of stuff. Once YouTube realized that creators like Mr. Beast were having to create entirely new channels to reach new audiences, they decided that they would make a product to actually support that. So they have this new thing called multi-track audio, where you can upload different audio tracks such that in different geographies, automatically someone is seeing a certain audio track that's relevant to them. For example, if you're in Spain, you'll automatically get pushed our Spanish audio. If you're in Italy, you'll get pushed our Italian audio. That has been really cool because it basically functions exactly like Netflix or a streaming service, where you click on the little settings button and then you just toggle to a different language. I think a lot of people don't know that YouTube has basically the exact same thing now, where you click on the gear icon and you can change, now for us, up to 10 language tracks that we have loaded for every video.
Yeah, that's really cool. How has that affected brand deals? Has that made you guys more, have brands really like that? How has that kind of affected the deals that come through? Because just like you're saying, some brands want to know, hey, only 70% of your audience, we only want to pay for that 70% versus the 100%.
What's cool about dubbing is it's basically guaranteed to increase your views and your reach, because like I said, you're just increasing the number of people who can possibly watch your video. You're unlocking people who just could never possibly watch your video before. So naturally your views are going to go way up from when you start dubbing. That said, you're going to, of course, start getting a higher percentage of international viewers because you're basically catering to international viewers. So whereas before a creator's percentage of viewers who are American might be 40%, it might go down to like 25% when they're kind of spiking those international numbers. And what I've heard from other creators is that brands have actually been slightly displeased with that, because marketing to Americans is kind of the most profitable thing for brands to do, especially American brands. It's something just about consumers in America versus consumers in different countries. So yeah, so we've heard from other creators that they've had some issues with brand deals. We really haven't seen that yet. We've really just kind of seen a good uptick in demand for sponsoring Nick based on how our views and total reach has gone up.
As brand deals come in, will you walk me through your process for how you say yes or no, kind of your criteria as the deal enters your inbox?
So I'd say one thing that me and Nick specifically are very particular about is we never for any reason want to damage a perfectly good YouTube video, which is to say that we're very focused on making the best possible content that we can. Like we want these videos as much as we can to just be fantastic videos. We want people to watch the whole thing. We put so much time into them. We'll spend now 6 months planning it, 3 months shooting it, 2 months editing it. Like we have these long lead times that are developed to really make great videos. And we, as much as we can, actually have kind of stopped putting in brand deals into our long form videos, just because the reality is nobody really likes ads. People just want to skip through them. People will click away. It can damage a video. That said, for any creator, brand deals are an important part of the business and of revenue. So it's certainly just for keeping the business alive. It is important to do brand deals. So all that being said, that's a long way of saying that we're very selective about taking brand deals. For us, it's really like we know the value of our channel. So, we, as well as probably every creator, has just like a threshold of pricing that anything below that just gets an automatic no. Anything above that is in the conversation for a yes. And then once you're in that conversation for a yes, it's a lot of things. It's how long is the integration supposed to be? Is it a 2 minute integration or is it a 10-second integration? Most times they're either between 30 seconds or 60 seconds. And of course, the longer the integration, the more you're kind of taking away from the video. So we tend to look for shorter integrations that are meeting our price threshold. And we also just try to work with good brands who kind of resonate with our audience. Nick always likes to say that we rarely will hear out kind of an alcohol or gambling brand, like the more adult categories. And this is in Nick's words because he doesn't want his mom to call him and say she's mad at him for working with an alcohol brand. We try to have a very family friendly channel. So we try to only partner with pretty family friendly brands. And yeah, it's about just kind of finding that synergy, that balance where a brand might be very open to kind of our creative direction and not be trying to push something down our throats. So yeah, it's really a number of things, but it's very important for us and for any creator to just find that balance of working with only great partners.
So you guys are willing to have multiple videos that aren't sponsored or don't have brand deals behind them. How do you
For sure
balance that though with the cost of the video? You just have to have obviously a big enough cash reserves to be able to fund that video in and of itself, and hopefully make it off the YouTube AdSense too.
Basically exactly that. We try to never spend more on a video than what we know the video will make in YouTube AdSense. So right away from the gate, as much as we can help it, we are basically making these bets, quote unquote, that we know will pay off because we know we're going to make the money back. So that's kind of how we're able to be very selective with taking brand deals. But yeah, we to date this entire year, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've only done one long form brand deal this entire year.
Wow,
which is pretty rare and almost unheard of for creators. But because of the way that we strategize our videos and the way we're making videos and pricing and costs and all that, we're able to be pretty careful and selective about brand deals.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And the channel being a lot of cooking and a lot of those types of collaborations where it's in the kitchen, you've got your kitchen, you've got your kind of set there set up. The costs are, probably paid off for in terms of getting the lighting, getting all the equipment needed. And then you can make more and more money off those. That structure is not super costly. Whereas I think I just watched the chicken video this morning. That's a little bit more intense, I would imagine, in terms of cost. How do you think about that mixture going forward?
That is a super important kind of part of the equation. The reality is just that some videos are cheaper and some videos are more expensive, I would say. The chicken video in particular is one that we spent months on. We had probably 10 locations in that video, and that was definitely a more expensive one. On the other hand, our video with Ryan Trahan that came out in May, that video topic was testing one-star Amazon cooking gadgets. And that video was filmed in our studio, a space that we own. Like you're saying, it kind of amortizes over time. And the cost of the video were in the hundreds of dollars because we were buying like $5 to $10 Amazon gadgets. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is that was one of our, and probably will be our best video of all time, that video with Ryan Trahan. For a number of reasons, it's performing really great. But it's certainly not the case that the more you spend equals more views. In fact, it's very dependent on your topic and how you're approaching these videos.
Yeah. How do you think about the long-term perspective of the business in terms of adding more people, adding more cost to it? That's been something that I think Colin and Samir have talked about. Other people have talked about in the creator economy of sometimes creators get really, really big teams. They get, tons of costs and the fluctuation of AdSense, but then sometimes the fluctuation of brand deals can really affect that. How do you guys think of building the team and growing it long-term?
Yeah. So Nick's vision of our team is really one that is very kind of small and tight. It really honestly comes down to Nick's philosophy of shooting a video, which is that when Nick shoots a video, he likes for our sets to be as kind of contained and small as possible. He doesn't like the idea of having all these people who are kind of superfluous. They have a small task on a set. They're kind of just adding distractions, adding noise, adding extra causes for distraction and whatnot. So Nick likes to keep our sets for filming videos really as tight as possible. And that kind of extends to his philosophy on business. He would much rather have kind of a small, lean and mean team that's very flexible and high performing than a bigger team where, in Nick's words again, he worries about not remembering people's names as his team gets big. He worries about kind of just overinflation of everything. So it's really our vision to keep our team relatively small. That said, of course, as we grow and scale our following in our business and our operations, we for sure are growing our team. We have about 5 full-time employees right now. I imagine in the next year we'll probably bring on probably 2 or 3 more full-time employees. But even so, that's far lower than what a lot of other creators of our size have for a team. For example, I know of another creator who is equal size, maybe just a bit smaller than Nick, who has like a 30 to 40 person team around them. So it really just depends on the creator. But Nick's view again is just having, going the lean and mean route.
Keeping it lean and small. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I think Ryan Tran is the same way. I think Ryan keeps a pretty small team from what I've heard.
Exactly.
His channel is huge.
Yeah. No, Ryan's team from experience is even maybe smaller than ours. I think he has like 3 or 4 kind of full-time employees.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And yeah, I think that there's just some ability that of being able to move quickly and dynamically, which is important and necessary in the space to be dynamic and quick. You have the ability to do that much more so, I would say, with a small team than a much bigger team. It's just like lead time extends.
Totally.
You're kind of a little more slow moving and bureaucratic, but with a small team, you can just be super dynamic is my experience.
Do you and Nick have a goal for 2025 in terms of sub count that you want to hit?
One thing that we're really focused on is that our campaign up to now has been this subscribe to catch Gordon campaign. That's one where we've really tried to kind of bring people in, have this create this kind of fun rivalry with Gordon where we're pitting the YouTube channels against each other. Now that campaign ended, we spent a while thinking of kind of our next subscribe campaign. And where we ended up is basically there's one thing Nick is known for is breaking Guinness World Records. To date, we've broken 10 different Guinness World Records in the food space. There's actually a Guinness World Record for the largest food YouTube channel. That record is held by a YouTube channel with about 30 million subscribers. And that channel actually it grows pretty quickly. They're not just staying at 30 mil. They're growing at a pretty solid rate. So our campaign is to catch that channel and become the Guinness World Record largest food channel in the world. And yeah, that's our campaign for next year. I imagine that we have about 15 million subscribers or so to go. This year, we gained about a little over 10 million subscribers. So I would say conservatively next year, we do want to hit this mark where we are the world's largest food channel.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super cool. The last question I got for you, Zach, is this need for really good managers, really good operators, really good, right-hand people to creators like Nick and Ryan and others is really needed in the creator economy right now. What advice do you have for those who want to be in a position like you, supporting a creator as more and more people, want to get into a position like that?
Yeah. So I would say that you need to be hungry and you need to know how to pitch your value. So the reason I got my job with Nick was actually from a cold email. I sent Nick a cold email about 3.5 years ago, and it's kind of been just fate ever since where we started working together, and it kind of built more into this really business partner, right-hand man type of role with Nick, where him and I, along with a few other people on our team, are kind of just running the business entirely and looking at the whole thing 360. So yeah, I would say that what I did is my backstory is I've always had this passion for food since I was a little kid, and I've always wanted to work in food. In high school and college, I was able to work in food. I got a few internships in catering companies and restaurant groups and whatnot. I sent Nick this cold email where I kind of carefully pitched my value for what I could do for him, why I liked his brand. I made it short and concise. And that's what I would recommend to anybody is that is a couple things. One is that creators do check their emails. So and I think a lot of people, CEOs, whatnot, a lot of people check their emails, especially people who are successful. It's pretty much a common fact of people who are successful is that you check your email. So number one is just shoot your shot. Don't be afraid to email your favorite creator or the top person on their team if you want to work with them. You really just never know if they're going to respond or what can happen. And number two is if you're going to do that, just make sure your pitch is good. And You don't necessarily need to have experience in your field, like I did with food. You don't necessarily even need that. Like you're not going to know an answer unless you just reach out. So reaching out in the first place is really important. And yeah, and just being super clear about what you could possibly do for them. A lot of these people, like creators or managers or whatever, they're very busy and don't have a lot of time to kind of like guide you through how you can help them. It's much easier if someone who wants to work for a creator, it's much easier if that person tells the creator what value they can bring. And it's just a very simple way to kind of get your foot in the door and allow the creator to see what you're worth.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Creator Ops Podcast. If you're interested in chatting more about the creator economy, send me a message on LinkedIn or email me at hello@creatoropsmedia.com.